estimating his own team.
You know, you guys, everyone else thinks we're underdogs, but we don't. So, you know, we're going to go in there with some confidence. We know how great we can be when we're detailed and we execute at a high level. So that's something that we need to take care of, you know, during the week, or we won't have a shot.
All right, so this has come up a little bit here. And Bart, I'm going to start with you, and we all understand your background, Ravens, all that. The Steelers.
I hate the Steelers.
Not your favorite team. You hate the Steelers.
Let's put it right out there.
But
Take the gray out.
If we can be as objective as we can.
I'll try.
The names on the backs of the jerseys suggest this team should be much better than this. The Pittsburgh Steelers have not been a 14-point underdog since 1969.
Yeah.
And they've got Chase Claypool, they have Deontay Johnson, they have Pat Freiermuth, they have Najee Harris, they have Minka Fitzpatrick. Maybe they shouldn't be the best team in the NFL, but they shouldn't be the worst. Why do they look so bad?
Because they don't have a good offensive line. I think they reached for Kenny Pickett. I think they shouldn't have reached for Kenny Pickett in a year where we thought that everybody knew that this was going to be a reset year. You know, losing a great Hall of Fame quarterback is always a reset year. For them to think that they can get a quarterback at pick 20 and Mitch Trubisky was going to be their answer. So why they took a quarterback and not being able to be in position to take one of these quarterbacks this year? So where do you go if you're sitting there at fourth and Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, or one of those guys are there? You're going to sit there and go for Will Anderson. So sometimes it's about bad picks. And this is the first time, and it's rare for the Steelers, that bad pick in Kenny Pickett because they could have got an upgrade. Hell, Greeny, if I was 23 years old in college, I would have been the first overall pick. I mean, come on, the dude is a grown man right now, and this is probably much as close to his ceiling. He can get better, but he's close to what he's going to be because he was ready for the pros. And he's got a rude awakening coming because it's not all sunshine and roses, and we just need to, you know, pay attention and detail. There's not enough detail in the world for them to beat Buffalo, in my opinion, this week. And I think the Steelers is in a tough position. It is tough to transition from a Hall of Fame quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger, and I don't think you find that at pick 20.
I get that, but here's the thing. The problem last year.
They don't have a good offensive line, and Najee Harris is not Saquon Barkley. I don't see special when I see him. You don't pick running backs that high and expect to have productivity.
Well, he was a first-round pick. I mean, Mike T., you watch them play, and we didn't. Ben Roethlisberger, like, he was part of the problem. All the respect in the world, first ballot Hall of Famer. You love Roethlisberger, but by the end, we thought that the quarterback position would be an upgrade into this season. It has been a disaster for the Steelers so far. Why?
Well, I agree with Bart. The offensive line has been a huge problem, but let's go to the other side of the ball. As Hembo reminded me, in week 1, T.J. Watt played. They had 7 sacks. Since then, in weeks 2, 3, and 4, total, guys, they have 3 sacks. So that's a really bad combination when you can't protect your quarterback and you can't rush the opposing team. And Grady, go back to your Zach Wilson drive of a lifetime last week. He played really well, but that was the Pittsburgh Steelers defense at home in the fourth quarter trying to protect the lead with crowd noise. It just isn't the same on either side of the ball. And for whatever reason, the sum of the parts are just not equaling the whole.
And so, Graz, it's interesting to see Tomlin making the move you can't unmake this early. Like, every sense I got, I felt like, was this is something he didn't want to do this quickly and now realized maybe he just had no choice.
Right. And it's interesting because, like, it feels like the right time to do it would have been 5 weeks ago to start the season or 4 weeks from now, because when you look at what they have coming up, right, we talk about they're playing Buffalo this week, then they play Tampa, then they play Miami, then they play Philadelphia. Good luck, kid, because you don't have an offensive line. The running game hasn't gotten going. To Tannenbaum's point, they're not sacking the quarterback, which they always do, by the way. Do you know that the Steelers have led the NFL in sacks as a team for 5 straight years? Like, that is a part of who they are, and they're not doing it right now. So this is the peril of being this perpetual win-now team that doesn't acknowledge the existence of a rebuilding year, right? You draft a running back in the first round when it should be an offensive lineman. You draft a quarterback in the first round when it should be an offensive lineman. You don't want to have a losing season. You're the Pittsburgh Steelers. That doesn't happen here. This is, it'll be Tomlin's best trick yet if he can keep that streak going.
I get it, and yet I kind of admire it. I mean, they keep trying to win, and I admire it, and it is work.
Until you're back to the Tommy Maddox era where you're searching for and you're trying to find Cordell Stewart, you're getting retreads because I don't think this kid in short order is going to be the long-term answer.
Well, they're going to.
But Myles Garrett back on the practice field shouldn't be too long before we see him back in a game. And then Tua Tagovailoa, the Dolphins quarterback, he will not play this week. He's already been ruled out. We know all about the concussion issues that he has been dealing with. The fallout from this, there's an investigation, the league and the NFLPA, into what went wrong, and they could be announcing some changes to the concussion protocols here in the coming days as a result of what went on with Tua. So a lot swirling around that situation, but in terms of the Dolphins and their quarterback, he will not be playing in this week's game.
That's the important point. So there will be no Tua as they take on the Jets this weekend, which means Teddy Bridgewater will get the start Sunday in his place. And Bridgewater obviously is a player with a great deal of NFL experience. So he was talking yesterday about his mindset as he becomes QB1 for a team that is 3-1.
I can't beat Tua. I had to learn the lesson when I was in New Orleans. I couldn't beat Drew Brees. So it's like, as long as I continue to be myself, the guys realize, man, this guy's been faking. He's not trying to be something he's not. It's like, it's a sense of relief. Like, okay, yeah, we know we're getting the real version of him. He's not trying to be something he's not. And that's just my approach every day.
All right, so look, Bart, this is a team that got off to an unbelievably good start. It feels like a very long time ago that we were debating whether they deserve to be called the best team in the NFL after starting 3-0, and we saw all of the incredibly unfortunate things that have happened with Tua. Now they go with Teddy Bridgewater. What are the Miami Dolphins?
I mean, I think the Miami Dolphins are still a dangerous team, but, I listen to Teddy, and he sounds very mature and understanding who he is, but being who he's not, who he hasn't been is a guy who will push the ball down the field and put it in harm's way. He has weapons that you want to give an opportunity for the 50-50 ball. And if he's going to be a muted version of himself where he's going to just check down Charlie, is that enough to be able to win some games against opponents that they should beat? And will opponents that shouldn't be in a game because he's conservative with the football? So I think he needs to be a little bit different or evolve a little bit than pushing the ball down the field, because that's what this team and this roster is built around, explosive plays, because they don't run the ball particularly well. So if he's going to just be checked down Charlie, it's going to give his opponents an opportunity to get victories.
How are they relative to what they would otherwise be? Teddy versus Tua just on the field. Again, the circumstances are what they are, and they're extremely unfortunate. Yeah. But what do you expect from him?
Well, I expect him to be efficient with the football, right? I expect him to use his football acumen. You talk about his pre-snap, recognition, getting out of the pocket, getting the team in the right plays. I just don't know if that, relates to a lot of points. Right, and you're going to give opportunities for other teams to be in ball games that they shouldn't, because he's not going to go for the 65-yard bomb. I know he threw one last week to Tyreek Hill, but Tua was making plays and explosive plays, plays over 40 or 20 yards. They were really routinely at the top of the league. And
then what did you mean when you said to me earlier, you think they might be better off at this point, or could be better with Bridgewater as their quarterback?
Well, he's a game manager. He's a high-end game manager. But, it's going to be up to Mike McDaniels to try and, facilitate, different type of route combinations to be able to get explosive plays without the ball really traveling 40 to 50 yards in the air.
How about it, Mike T? You know this team about as well as you can. You make your home down there. This obviously was your most recent stop when you were there as the general manager. So you're seeing them day in, day out. What is your expectation for them as they try and keep this thing afloat for however long it is that they are without their starting quarterback?
They can still win a lot of games. We talked a lot about Dallas and Cooper Rush today. This could be very similar. Miami has a really good defense. Now, look, Xavier Howard's a little nicked up. Byron Jones hasn't played yet. But they have a really good front seven, and I think there's other ways they can win games despite not being as explosive with Teddy Bridgewater, much the way we've seen the Dak Prescott-Cooper Rush transition.
I mean, look, this is a team that has put together huge numbers. The way they beat Baltimore, the explosive plays they put together. If they don't have that, it'll be interesting to see what they do have. What, as you said, we could put the picks up for this Sunday, by the way. I'm told they play the Jets. Maybe there's a little bit of...
Filet of fish, Greeny. Filet of fish.
Just a touch of homeritis going on in some of these picks. We will see. That said...
I don't want to say anything.
What is the overall sense as far as Tua, how long they may be without him? It's such an incredibly delicate situation, made all the more so by how public it was last Thursday night.
And I think it's too delicate of a situation for anybody to really be talking about timetables at this point.
Right.
I think, it's all about how he progresses and when he shows improvement. They'll obviously, based on what's already happened, they'll obviously be extremely cautious before putting him back in. You're right. Tons of eyes on this. Is one of those stories that non-football people are talking about, right? It's gotten that much attention. So I think they're not thinking along those lines right now. They want to get him healthy and get him better before they even consider that.
Absolutely. And look, this is why you have a guy like Teddy Bridgewater sitting right there. You mentioned Cooper Rush is the perfect example. No one expected that. They win games.